to the Breeders Forum. Can everybody hear me okay? Good, okay. My name is David Mount. I think I know most of you, but I'm the Executive Director of the American Saddlebred Horse and Breeders Association. And our panel today is Kristen Bagdasarian from Diamond View Farm in Versailles, Smith Lilly with Mercer Springs Farm in Princeton, West Virginia, Melissa Moore with Sunrise Stables, also Versailles, Kentucky, and last but not least, Emily Lee with Prospect Lane Farm of Versailles, Kentucky. On the table, you will see a breeder survey, which we just sent out to about 1,000 of our breeders over the past 3 years, plus stallion owners. If everybody would take time after the forum to fill this out and give it back to us, we would greatly appreciate it. We're always looking at ways to improve the registry and our prize programs, and this would be helpful information for us. All right, let's get started. We'll just start down the line here. Kristen, tell us a little bit about your breeding philosophy and your breeding program at Diamond View.
Like David said, I own Diamond View Farm in
Hey,
Versailles.
Kristen, I can't hear. I can't hear. I know they can.
I own Diamond View Farm in Versailles, Kentucky. We are mainly breeding, foaling. I foal out about 40 some mares a year. My breeding philosophy is just, I would like every horse that I raise to have a job. Obviously, everything you raise is not going to be a world champion. Of course, that's what I shoot for, but I want to raise honest, solid citizens that go on and serve a purpose in life.
Smith?
With my family, we run Mercer Springs Farm, and we're a little different in that we're purely a training stable. My mother has and keeps several brood mares, but she keeps them in Kentucky with Fred Sarber, and we usually start of our own 3 to 4 a year, and then but we work horses for a lot of our clients are breeders also. So we have, at this point, we have 11 2-year-olds in the barn and I think 9 of them we started last fall. So we do start a lot of colts. From a breeding philosophy, I think the thing that I talk about with owners is, number one, you have to have a nice mare, and you have to know what she is. So if she was a gaited type, or was she a good harness horse, or was she a walk trot type, what was she? And hopefully she and her family were good at something. And then we try to find a stallion that is good at the same thing. So you're breeding type to type. So if you have a gaited type mare, I would breed it to a gaited type stud. And if you had a harness type mare or a 3-gaited type, I would find a stallion that sires that type. That's our philosophy.
Melissa?
Hi, I'm Melissa Moore. I have Sunrise Stables in Versailles, Kentucky. We have a breeding operation as well as a training operation. We foal about 20 to 25 mares a year. I have 3 breeding stallions. One of them is a pasture stud. That only does pasture breeding. We do have frozen on them to do oocytes and embryo transfers. We stand our other 2 studs at Singing Hills because I don't personally collect the stallions there. So that's why I have a pasture stud. I let Mother Nature do it. My philosophy, and it's kind of grown the older I've gotten, is I've seemed to have cultivated a lot of my own breeding stock. The 2 of the studs that I actually stand, I bred. And a lot of the mares that I have, I bred. And I try to always keep back a mare that's out of a really good show mare that's done well to breed. So to me, it's really important that we have a band of really strong brood mares. And then I try to, it's hit and miss. I mean, breeding is not easy. Otherwise, we would all breed world champions. But I try to find out what works. And I do like to try to breed in my own stallions. But I also know there's a ton of great studs out there that I try to see what my mare needs. If she needs a longer neck, I'm going to find a stud that I know produces something with a longer neck, and so on. But again, I agree with Kristen. They all have to have a job, and there's so many things that people throw away, really nice babies that aren't going to be a great stake horse, and there's just so many things that they can do. So we try to make sure they all have a job.
Emily?
I'm Emily Lee, and my husband Trey and I have Prospect Lane Farm in Versailles, Kentucky. And first of all, thank you, ASHBA, for putting this together, and I'm honored to be up here with this panel. I really respect every single one of these people up here. Our philosophy, we really like to take what we like to work, what we get along with, and and that may be different for everybody, but that's kind of how we shaped our breeding program, what works for us. I try to take the mares that I have. I agree with Melissa. I keep back some of the bloodlines that I have been good producers for us, and save a mare or two. I stand 5 studs right now. 2 are on my farm, and then the rest get shipped in and out. And I also have frozen semen that I can do right there on the farm as well. I enjoy that process very much. We foal between 12 and 15 a year of our own or clients' horses. Every single one of the clients that I have mares and breed at least one. So I think that's really unique and important for us that our clients are contributing back to the breed. So that's what we.
Thank you. Back to Kristen. What bloodlines do you prefer or do you look for in a brood mare?
I'm a little different. I forgot. I'm not off to a very good start here. I forgot in my opening. I have 2 of my own studs. So I own Caleb First Night Out and Fairview's Mark My Words. So my breeding is a little different because I'm trying to promote my stallions and find what crosses. I've always been a huge fan of Top of the Mark, which is why I bought Fairview's Mark My Words. He's a son of him. And then, Caleb First Night Out, I purchased, 8 years or so ago. So I have tried to find what crosses for my personal mares, what crosses with my studs the best. But I love any Callaway Hill breeding. I mean, I'm a big into those mares. That's mostly what. And I used to have Masterclass, so it's actually interesting at this horse show. 2 big winners of sweepstakes and the All-American Cup are out of Caleb First Night Out mares. And I kind of looked around my farm the other day and I was like, I don't have any Caleb brood mares because I bought Caleb to cross with my Masterclass
I have one.
mares. Yeah. But so a lot of my brood mares, I'm like Melissa, I think all of my brood mares right now I have raised except one I purchased. But, I'm kind of building it around the stallions that I own.
What specific bloodlines cross best with your stallions?
Emily probably has some of the best. I did own Masterclass. He crossed very well with Callaway Hills. He crossed very well Meredith Gray, who Smith won the mare stake with. Caliph seems to be crossing very well with Top of the Mark, Northern Vegas. Who else? That's who there was a very nice colt that I raised that showed this morning in harness. That is actually out of a Callaway's Guy Park mare.
Which goes back to Blue Northern.
Yeah, so the Callaways crosses very well with them. And,
Smith?
Well, we're a little different. We don't have a stallion to promote. So we look for in the brood mares really 4 things, but number 1, they have to be athletic. So from families that were athletes, and I love it if the mares themselves showed a lot of athleticism. Number 2, you have to have quality. A little short-necked, jar-headed, pea-eyed mare is not likely to have a nice colt. So pretty. I want a pretty mare that looks like a saddle horse. Number 3, they have to be athletic. They have to be game. They have to want to be a show horse. So the gameness. We're trying to breed. I think everybody really tries to breed for high performance. You don't always get there. But when you're trying to breed for high performance, you want those 3 things. You want gameness, you want quality, and you want athleticism. So we look for that before we look at pedigree. And then the pedigree is the 4th thing. And so you want the family to have a track record. If you look, well, the dam wasn't a nice show horse, and her mother never had a nice show horse, and you've never heard of anything out of the 3rd dam either, well, that's probably not going to have a nice show horse. But if the mother was a nice show horse and the grandmother had 2 or 3 nice show horses, well, she probably is going to have a nice show horse. So I don't look for specific families. There's some I like better. Blue Northern's great. Yorktown I loved. It's hard to find Yorktown anywhere up close anymore. But those families were always really good to us. But before we've had nice horses by a wide range of families. But they have in common that nice horses run in their families. But there's not one specific family or even 5 specific families. There's probably a dozen families out there that can have nice horses, but you have to have a nice individual too.
Melissa?
Well, I'm going to piggyback on what Smith said. So just for example, I truly believe that the mare is 80% of what you're going to get. So if you have a great mare, I don't care who you breed it to, you're going to likely get either a nice horse or a great horse depending on the stud. So I'm going to take an example of a mare that we have named Rosalind's Dancing for Dollars. She's the dam of Sashay Away, who won the Park Maturity. Also the dam of, I just forgot his name, the one that was second, Matlock, that was second in the 2-year-old harness maturity and also has won everywhere this year. She is the dam of Dancing for a Kiss, who was 3rd in the amateur gate the other night. She's only had 4 babies, 3 of them are show horses, one of them I kept back as a brood mare because if anything happened to her, I want to still have the bloodlines. The one I kept back is by Bagdasarian. And she has a baby by Sedgefield's Legacy that I'm trying to sell to Smith because it's closely related to Sashay Away. But
She's
so
getting close.
but that's so important. You've got to start with a good dam, like Smith said. And that mare was an athlete. She won the All-American Cup here herself. So if she was a show horse, she was game, she was athletic. She always wanted to show if you were going to falter, you wanted this much more neck. So we bred her to stuff that would give her just this much more neck. So you take their assets and you find how you can build upon it. And that's kind of how I do my breeding program with everything that I have. And I think when you actually raise some of your own brood mares, you know what's going to complement them. And growing up in the business, I'm lucky to know a lot of the breeding from my parents. And I love Stonewall King, which you can't find anymore. From the Galton's Great Day line, Ullman's Desdemona Denmark, you can't hardly find that anymore. And of course, all of the Callaway Hills bloodlines has been so beneficial to us. We have a stud called Leatherwood's Amadeus, who has no nutcracker in him. So he will cross great with nutcrackers. He's a great outcross. So you don't, inbreeding is fine, but if you can actually find something that you can outcross and to promote both of them, that's your ideal, I think.
Yeah, I agree. We, like I said, took what we were fortunate enough to be successful with early on in Trey's career and what he liked to work. And we purchased our first Talk of the Town mare and built our breeding program on that. And we just tried to collect as many Talk of the Town mares as we could. And now we have some of their daughters because you don't have that anymore. So that was definitely, we liked that they were hardy and bigger boned. They racked really well, but some of them you needed to cross with something a little bit more fine and a little prettier. And I agree also with the mares, but also with the studs. I think the people that stand the studs and have the babies and produce them every year, they know what mares will cross well with their studs. They know what traits are throwing. They know what a mare type that works really well. So talk to the stallion owners and talk to the stallion managers and look at the offspring and see what they're producing.
This is a question from somebody in the audience. What's the best way, Kristen and the rest of the panel, to market a young horse?
I always say you do so much work getting a baby here, getting it on the ground, keeping it healthy, getting it in the show barn. You have to get it to a trainer that you trust that does a good job with young horses. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You can ruin a young horse quickly. Everyone, you put so much time and money into a foal and a mare and getting the baby here. Do not cut yourself short when it comes time to put it in training. Spend the little extra money. You get what you pay for. And a colt, you don't have to be with a trainer that wins 20 classes at Louisville every year. Be with someone that has started colts, has a team that can safely get your colt started, and whatever your goal is, if it's getting it to the show ring or if it's marketing it. If you look at a, trainer that you've never seen have a, young horse, that might not be where I would personally send it, but don't cut yourself short don't spend a colt is only as good as someone will let it be. So do your research and, find a good trainer, because it'll make or break you making a show horse or not, and ultimately getting it sold or getting it shown.
Yeah, I certainly agree with what Kristen said, and I was just going to say, get it doing something. Not many people will buy, or at least not many people will spend any real significant money on a horse in the pasture, or a horse that knows how to wear a lead rope and that's all it knows how to wear. So to sell these colts at a profit consistently, they have to wear tack, and they have to be able to do something. And so when you can get them to a venue like this, or really just a public horse show venue, and the horse can go out in public and make a credible show, that gets people's attention. So I think if you can find a place in your area or on a national scene, depending on what level you're on, and get that horse out in public, get the horse educated, get them doing something, and that enhances their value.
Awesome.
I use the money programs to help market my horse, and I nominate every single baby that I have to the futurity because it's not expensive. And I also try to nominate them to any other prize program we have, the sweepstakes, and then when they're old enough, you have the classics. But it's a great selling tool if you can actually put down on paper that this horse is eligible to win, $40,000 before he's 2 years old or whatever. That really helps market him that way, and it's a very inexpensive way to do it. And I agree with everything that they've already said. That's just an addition.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Sorry.
But it's okay. I mean, I really believe in the programs, and that we do the same thing. We put every single one of our babies in the futurity and sweepstakes, and I really believe in those programs. They're good programs. They are great for marketability, and I agree with what they say. You can go out in the field, seeing all the ones that we go through year after year. You can go out in the field and you might think that this one is going to be the one, and you get it up, but the one that was kind of homely looking in the field is the one that actually, when you put tack on it, is the one. So you really need to give everything a chance and get some tack on them.
And just to echo what Emily and Melissa said, Melissa sold Sashay Away as a baby. We bought her as a she was still a yearling. It was in December. It was a yearling, so she was wearing a little tack. And Melissa had her in all these programs, and we knew it. Well, that mare's won $58,000 and change over the course of the last 2 years, and she's still got one more nice program to go in at the end of this year. So hopefully she'll be well over $60,000 in earnings before she turns 4. So the prize programs really can pay off. Obviously, you need a nice colt, but there's a lot of money to be had out there.
And one thing I'm going to say about picking a trainer, there's nothing wrong with I'm not telling anyone to not go see your horse or whatever, but when you should pick a trainer that you are confident and believe enough in, and then let them do their job. They cannot do their job if they're sending you videos every single week and every day calling and checking on your horse. I send colts to Trey and Emily, and you can ask her how many. I never go see them. If they want me to see them, they will call me and tell me. But a horse trainer cannot do their job if they're constantly having to report back to you. And you shouldn't send your horse to someone you don't have full confidence that you don't need to check in every week and want pictures and videos. Now, there's nothing wrong with going and enjoying the horse that you raised, on Saturdays or whatever the deal at the barn is. But let them pick someone that when you send the horse off, you have enough confidence they'll call you when it's ready for you to come see it. And I send videos when I'm excited to show the people their horse, so that would be my biggest advice. I know it is exciting and you want to see what they're doing, but let them do their job.
Kristen and the rest of the panel, what are the pros and cons of the various breeding methods that you and your customers use?
Like AI.
Oocytes, all of the above. Yeah.
We do a little bit of everything. I will be honest. I got very into live cover and masterclass. Just his age, and he did not ship well, and he did not collect well. At the end, he was older and whatever. I was kind of told he was done, and I brought him home, and I started live covering him, and he got a lot of mares in full. And if I hadn't done that, Texas Pete wouldn't be here. He was a product of that. All of my studs live cover, and Caliph is 24 years old and has gotten pretty popular, so he goes to Emily to collect. I would prefer to live cover because it saves me a lot of money, and it saves me having to put him on a trailer and she has to collect them, but when you have a busy stallion, I don't want him breeding 8 times a week, so I think live cover is hugely underrated, and done correctly, it saves you a lot of money. But also, we do a ton of ship semen and frozen semen and stuff like that. So I think they're all very important, but I had someone once, the dam of Meredith Gray, who Smith won the mare stake with, her mother is probably our most valuable mare. And one time I was talking about live cover, and I had somebody tell me, like, well, you wouldn't live cover a really good mare. And I thought, well, we live cover our very best mare. But don't ever let anyone tell you that live covering is like the cheaper, or not, what's the word I'm using, not the high road to take or whatever. It's wonderful, and there's a lot of babies out there that would not be here if live cover was not available. And Caliph bred so many mares. I would have mares at my farm owned by other people, and we would breed, and they're not getting full and not getting full, and the people are like, oh, and we're getting to the end of the year, and they'd go, just live cover to Caliph, and she'd get full. And just some mares just do not, and we do not need to not be breeding those mares. So I'm a huge fan of live cover. I haven't done, Melissa can talk more about pasture breeding because I just don't have the facility to do that. But yeah.
Smith?
I agree on the live cover. I think anytime you add in a step in the process that requires handling of start with the semen and then go on from there, it adds a level of uncertainty and it adds a level of expense. So by far the cheapest and by far the most effective way to breed a mare is to have the mare standing there, have the stallion jumper, and breed her. Boom, done. Don't need a veterinarian, don't need special equipment, just need a mare and a stud. And maybe some hobbles to keep your mare from kicking the stud. Maybe a little bit of, hygienics going on here too. I did work on a couple breeding farms. I worked in California for a year. We had 10 mares, and we bred them all live cover, and we had 9 babies the next year. So it
One
works.
thing about live cover is when you have a vet, and I do this all the time, so I'm not knocking it in any way. If you have a mare that is in heat ready to breed, she will let a stallion cover her. And when you have a vet coming in, checking your mare, you order the semen, it comes, you really don't, like, one time I was going to live cover a mare and she's got a huge follicle, the vet's like, tomorrow, perfect, you're on. Well, she would not let the stallion breed her. And it was like, she's supposedly, her blood work came back terrible, her hormones were off. So what was going to happen is if we did AI, we don't know any of that. So we're breeding on a follicle, she ovulates, and how many times it's like, the mare did everything perfect and she came back empty, not in full. Well, doing it natural, she will naturally tell you something is not right here. I do not want to be bred, and that's always a huge red flag that sometimes, even as unbelievable as vet work and science is, we miss those things doing AI.
Yeah, I'll touch on two things. The pasture breeding is amazing. I have a stud named Gomez that we pasture breeds. He lives in front of my house, or actually my assistant's house. So we see him all the time. We know when he is going to breed a mare. We try to keep track. We'll say, oh, he's breeding so-and-so right now, and we'll write it down. I wait usually 2 months before I check them because they all seem happy out there, because I want as little cost as possible. People will send mares in. We make sure when they send them in that they're clean, that they have a clean culture. I prefer to turn them out with him when I know they're coming in season, but if they're not, it's fine. It all works out. And just like Kristen said, I've had mares that have been out with him that he won't get near. He knows there's something wrong with them. He's like, they're either dirty or there's something wrong, and he won't breed them. Mother Nature is an amazing thing, and especially when you actually watch pasture studs and how they herd the mares and how they separate them, and it's very interesting. And we probably, I would say, get 90% of the mares in foal that go out with him, and the ones that don't get in foal are never going to get in foal. But yeah, really, really good with problem mares. And if you're going to do a pasture stud, make sure you start with an old mare first out with them, something that is not going to kill the stud. Preferably a mare that's in season. I would maybe trank them first when you put them out together, and then they will learn very quickly. It's Mother Nature. They know what they're supposed to do. They will learn. The pasture stud always has at least one mare with him at all times. And I may have a mare that I know won't get in foal with him. That's his constant, because they need that. They're herd animals. But then I also want to touch on oocytes. I think that because of modern technology, we're so blessed to have the ability to pull embryos and oocytes out of some of these grand show mares. And I think that in the past that we waited too long to breed some of the great mares because we wanted to keep showing them. Oocytes is very expensive and very difficult. Some people are super lucky at it and actually get, they take all the time. Me, not so lucky. I think I have 2 out of about 10 cooking right now. So it's very hard and very expensive, but when it works, it's great. And I highly recommend that on difficult mares that are to get in foal, or great show mares that you have that you want to have frozen embryos on.
Yeah, when we start to teach a stud to jump, we always live cover them first, so that they know exactly what their job is going to be, and it makes it a lot easier to teach them to jump on the dummy. I have no problem with live covering my mares. I've sent several mares of mine, especially if I've had trouble getting them in foal, or if Caliph just isn't busy, I'll send him over to get live covered. But for us, since we do so much of the artificial insemination on our farm and just collecting and shipping, that's usually what we do. And like I said, I do have the frozen as well. I do think that technology and things are evolving and coming where it is getting easier to breed with frozen. But that again, it adds another step. So it is definitely, I think it does take your chances down a little bit more. And I agree with Melissa with the oocytes. I have not had great success with that. I think that if you have a mare that is proven and that has definitely had babies for you that just can no longer carry, then I would definitely spend the money for that. But just on something that you don't know if it's going to work, I would not spend the money for the oocytes for that.
And most of you have touched on this already, but the number one question we get at the association is, how do we make breeding more affordable? Kristen, again, most of you have touched on it, but Kristen, any other thoughts?
I think the quickest way to get someone to not breed is to run up a huge vet bill and have no baby at the end of it. That is the biggest problem. There's another question that's like cutting corners. Don't not culture your mare first off because you're like, oh, well, we'll try it once. Well, then you try it twice. Then you miss 2 months, and then you've got a mare that's not in foal that you wish you started that can run you up a huge bill and result in no foal. So, I mean, if you find a stud that pasture breeding or live cover, that is live covering, you still have to get your mare checked, but I would start off breeding season with a culture of your mare, so you are not, if you are breeding a dirty mare, you literally are throwing money right out the window. She is not going to get in foal. You've spent money on the vet checking her, you've spent money on the semen, shipping costs, everything. So don't cut corners and think, and I'm guilty of it, that because you can waste a lot of money not starting off on the right foot. And, if pasture, find a facility and find ask what they charge, ask what their vet costs. Some bigger facilities charge more, and, they're managing a lot of mares and they have to. So, maybe a smaller program that, deals with just a couple mares or doesn't do, a bulk of mares, but and get with a vet in Kentucky, and it might not be the same everywhere else. In Kentucky, Susie, there are repro vets and there are 9,000 other vets, and I've had a mare in a vet clinic being treated for something else, and the vet will not do anything. Like, she needs to be checked. I need to, and repro vets are repro vets, lameness vets are lameness vets. A lot of times Emily and I someone's shipping semen and it just doesn't add up, and it's like a good repro vet, that's all they do. Is not to say they can't do other things, but that is their main focus, and I think that makes a huge difference. At my farm, I have 2 vets that do nothing but my breeding. I have a vet that does lameness, and they never do each other's work. But I think some areas are lacking in that, and if you are lacking, it is worth it to send your mare to an area that has a good repro vet, because you just cannot, the extra money is very well spent on somebody that's all they do during breeding season, rather than a vet that's, maybe learned a little here and there, but it's not the same. And I think that's probably the most important thing I would say is your veterinarian.
A few points. Number one, to echo what we've all said already, the more natural you can keep it, the lower the cost. If you do decide you're going to use some of the more technologically advanced methods, then you do need to send to an expert. Don't try it at home with your vet who works on cows and pigs and horses and knows how to run his arm up in a mare, because unlikely is that going to work well for you. Number two, as Kristen said, make sure your mare culture is clean. That's good money spent. That way you don't waste a lot of money getting semen shipped and vet checked on a mare that's not clean. So, and number three is, and I think Emily can speak to this more because she's gone and walked the walk. Learn how to do things yourself. You don't need a veterinarian to do all this stuff. You don't need to pay a veterinarian to do all this stuff. Learn how to do things yourself. If you've got a barn and a farm and a place to turn mares out, you can do this very affordably. It does not have to cost a lot of money to raise a foal if you have a place to keep your horse at home.
I've had a lot of experience this year with reshipping, and I feel like, and it wasn't the semen, it was where I was shipping them to, and not what they were saying. The vets weren't checking the mares properly, or they were saying, oh, we need semen Monday. Oh, now we need semen Wednesday. Now we need semen Friday. Well, when do you need it? Like that, it doesn't happen like that. I highly suggest that whatever stud that you're going to breed your mare to, send your mare to that facility, because they will have the vets there. It'll be way less expensive than shipping twice. You can have your mare at a facility for 1 month, and it'll be way less expensive than 2 shippings. You'll know they're going to get handled well, and then they'll be checked in full and sent back to you. I cannot stress that enough. or send it to somebody that's a breeding program that's close to you where the stud is. That will save you a fortune in just being smart about bets, as you already said.
Yeah, I echo all those points. There's a saying that says you have to spend some money to make some money, and that's so true. You have to be smart about, not cutting costs. We had a situation this summer where we just kept shipping, and I was talking to the mare owner, and I was asking her questions, and they would call for semen on Monday that it needed to be shipped on Friday, and that just it doesn't work that way. You have to follow a mare very closely. You cannot skip checking them to watch that follicle grow. You cannot skip checking for an ovulation, because you don't know. Maybe the vet said it was ready Friday, but maybe it didn't ovulate till Monday, and then she's probably not going to get in full. You have got to spend the money to do that. And like I said, like Melissa said, sending it close to the stud or at the stud will definitely save you money. But just getting a good repro specialist. I like Smith said, I have learned to do a lot of the things on my own, and which I can only do my own mares. You should not be doing other people's mares in that. And this spring, I did learn how to ultrasound, and I found a whole new appreciation for my vet, because it is very, very difficult. And they see those things every day, especially if they're just a repro. They go and they'll check 20 mares a day. It makes a difference, because they can see and they can learn the feel, and the look, and everything. I mean, it took me 3 days just to find the ovary. So it is definitely, I had a huge appreciation for my vet. It's definitely important.
I'll start with Kristen. Do you have a preference in showing a weanling or yearling in hand versus waiting to show them under saddle or in harness?
I think I've shown one baby in the All-American Cup many years ago. I don't have anything against showing babies. He's very, very successful at it. I don't think it's something that I am necessarily good at, so I've never really done it, but I think it's great. I love watching the classes and the exciting babies that show. I think it's, gives the general public something to, there was Brett and Susie had a baby a couple years ago, and it's like, gosh, I mean, several that Larry Hartsock's owned. It's great to have a baby to look at that's what you want to breed. That should be everybody's goal. I don't think if you don't have a baby that can do that means anything. Some of the nicest babies I've ever raised, if you went out in a field, you would not have picked them top 3. I mean, but I think it's a great way for breeders to, I have watched people growing up that have been very loyal to the different futurities, and I've watched them every year probably pay all their vet bills on what they win in the futurities, and that's amazing. I mean, that it puts some money in your pocket and offsets some breeding expenses, and who knows, they might win money that could maybe pay for a stud fee they've been a stud they've been wanting to breed to. So I think it's great. I think you need to, there are people that are very, very good at that, and I'm not one of them. So if I had one, I would probably send it to somebody. But I think it's great if that's what people want to do. But I also think if you don't have a baby that does not look like it can be a futurity colt, don't worry about it. Kick it out in the field, let it grow up, bring it in, and you could have a amazing training horse that just wasn't a futurity colt.
Smith?
We do show a lot out of our barn in futurities. That was my ticket to the bigger shows when I was younger, because I could run a little bit, and so I could compete faster at a high level. Like Louisville and Indiana, when I was 25 years old and just starting out, we could take colts to those shows and compete, where I couldn't take 3-year-olds at the time and compete. So it really helped us build our business by being able to show in hand, because then we got to keep some of those colts and we got to know people, and then it was a springboard for the rest of what we were doing later. And again, as Kristen said, you can win good money doing it. There's plenty of money out there to win in hand if you can run a little bit and show them. On the other hand, I don't think a horse that succeeds in hand is necessarily a good predictor of whether they're going to succeed later. A lot of the ones we've had, I think, well, thank God they were good in hand, because they sure couldn't wear leather much. But they had their time to shine. So our personal horses, we've got a couple of clients that like to show in these nice to higher end in-hand programs, and we don't want to compete with that. So our personal horses that we raise, we do not show them in hand. I've got one client that is opposed to doing it, doesn't like it. We don't show hers in hand. I've got a couple other clients that really do like it. They enjoy it, and they participate in the amateur classes in here. And so we have a lot of fun with it. So it's up to your own personal taste and vision and whatever. I don't have a firm, I think you should or you shouldn't. I think there are opportunities out there, and if you're in a position to take advantage of those opportunities, good for you. And if you're not, put them in training when they're coming to, and go to it from there.
Listen.
I always have a saying, it's easier to sell dreams than reality. And I think that's why these baby classes are so exciting, is because you see these amazing babies out there trotting like little hackneys, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's my next walk trot world's champion. So you can go and buy a dream or sell a dream for $30,000 or $40,000, a nice baby, and hope that you might resell it in a couple years for $200,000. So I love to look at the classes, and I get sucked into it too, and think maybe I should buy that one, And I raise a ton of babies every year, but it's a great marketing tool for people that are breeders. Bring them out and let the other trainers see them, and I'm sure there's several babies that have gotten sold this week because there's some nice ones here, and I don't think it hurts them when you go on. I've known a lot of great babies that have won maturities that have gone on to be great show horses. It just really depends on how often you handle them. I do think they need to be horses, and when you're done, with these baby classes, let them just go out and be horses until you need to bring them in again. But just remember, it is a lot easier to sell dreams.
Look at what Glamorous Nuts has accomplished in a very short breeding career, that had nobody ever shown his babies, you would have to, he has done a phenomenal job,
Yeah, because I think his oldest are 3
Yeah.
or 4 year old, and
Yeah.
they're just hitting the show ring.
It's a long wait to get a young stallion off the ground and get babies on the ground and then into the show ring, and like that stud, those babies that he's showing have made a splash, and it's made him very popular.
Yeah, I agree. I think the baby classes are great. We don't typically participate in weanling or yearling. We've had a couple. Every year I get them up, and when we wean them and I have them up, and I'm like, man, I should have put this one in and taken this one. But it's just not what we do. It definitely is an art, and if I had something nice, I probably would send it to Smith or to somebody that can do it. It is definitely an art. It's different from putting tack on them and putting them in the ring. So if you want to show your baby, definitely pick someone who has success in that area, because it is definitely an art.
Smith and Melissa, as leaders of our prize program committee, do you have anything else to add about the futurity sweepstakes? Why people should enter? I think we touched on that a little bit.
Well, it's a great opportunity for return on investment. It's to have your colt eligible for every year of the national futurity. It costs $600 total, and Sashay Away has won in the national futurity alone $43,000 in the last 2 years for $600 investment. So that's pretty good, and I think you're also participating in something that promotes the whole breed. So I think it's something of a civic. You can feel good about yourself. Yeah, I'm participating in this, and we're promoting the breed in doing so, and with the opportunity to get a significant return with what you're doing. And I think the prize programs are great. I've been in them for a long time, and with Melissa, we chair it right now. and welcome for, open to suggestions and comments or questions about that.
Melissa, do you have anything to add?
Like I said before, it's a great marketing tool, and it's the easiest thing that you can do by nominating your mares and paying that small amount of money every year. It's just a great easy investment. And when I have somebody looking at a yearling or a 2-year-old, I'm like, oh, he's eligible to win all this money, and I mean that's exciting to people. And I just think that it's just very, very important. And again, like you said, it actually is something that our Breeders Association does for us. It's for you all. We have to continue to promote our industry and our breed, and it's just a great way to do it. And they do such great social media coverage on it, like what you all have been doing about the classes here and the winners here and the participation. I mean, that's great marketing, and that's what we have to do to increase the industry's market.
I did receive some specific breeding questions on some folks out here that have some mares that they want the panel to make suggestions on for stallions. And let me say, so our registrar doesn't go berserk on Monday. We do not endorse the recommendations. We do not stand behind these recommendations.
It's worth what you're paying for it.
Yeah. So the first one, a brood mare by Sir William Robert out of a Northern Blues mare. Any suggestions on that?
I mean, of course I would promote our studs. I mean, I just,
And when she says our stuff,
I know,
she's
I'm
really
sorry, I'm
talking about
including
one of mine too.
So
She needs to start dropping names.
yeah, Caleb definitely. No, but I do think that going back to looking at the breeding, if you go and look what crosses well with Sir William Robert, and kind of go back and see what broodmare have worked with what, and try to copy that and do something similar to that. But also, I mean, talk to your trainer. What do they like to work? What are they successful with? And and ask them.
And don't be afraid when you ask me that question. For some reason, my thought goes to Brett and Susie. They have had a lot of Sir William Robert experience. Just because I breed a lot, I haven't had experience with Sir William Robert. So go on the registry, find the successful horses. I go to them, call them up and ask them. Like, they would be more than happy to talk to someone about, but I would direct you to them just because I foal a lot of mares and breed a lot of mares doesn't mean I know what's best on every stud. So I've never met a breeder that doesn't like to talk about breeding. So don't be afraid to call people that do your research, and there's many other people that Scott Hagan has had a lot of success with Sir William Robert.
Willowbank.
Yeah, Willowbank. I mean, call them, and that. Yeah, Joan can tell you.
But I think Smith touched on this earlier too, of the type. You want to also see what your mare produces and what she lacks, so that you could add to that.
Right. That's super important, because you don't want to, if you have a tightly shorter neck mare, you want to make sure that you're going to go with something that she needs, a stretchier, something that is going to throw more neck. Or if they need more athletic ability, go with something that's going to throw that. And then what do you want? You want a gaited horse, you want a walk-trot horse. Not that that's always going to work out, but if that's what you're shooting for, like Smith said, go the gaited line, or go the harness line, or whatever you're trying to achieve. You have to set a goal, what you would kind of want with this horse, and then hope that you get it. But if you don't have a goal starting out, you're not going to have a future.
I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor for questions. Certainly. Anybody? Yes.
So you've all talked about how, as breeders, obviously you want your horses to go on and have jobs. And Melissa, you've really shown your dedication to that with starting the Sunrise Junior Hunter program. Are there other steps that you, as breeders and trainers, would like to see the show industry take to really make sure that the horses you're producing have jobs?
I'd love to answer that. I think it's so important. We live in a completely different world than we did 30 years ago. When my parents were trainers, it was a professionally dominated industry, and owners bought horses for the professional to show. And they sat and watched them, but that's not the world we live in now. The world we live in now is very amateur oriented. You all are the backbone of our industry. Without the amateurs, we do not exist. And there's so many avenues that we can take, like the Select Series program is a great one, because they're for horses that aren't going to win the gaited stake at our World's Championship horse show, or the walk trot stake, or the amateur stake, or whatever. They're for horses that are amazing, useful, talented individuals, but aren't the high echelon of our industry. So, but there's all different levels. So I think if we continue to promote the Select Series programs for the horses that aren't showing at the World's Championship horse shows, we need to have more young horse programs for hunters and Western. We're promoting the ranch right now. The ranch is a growing division. It's a slow growing one because it's so different than what we're used to. But I think we just have to keep asking the management to put these classes in the shows. The World's Championship Horse Show needs to add additional classes for Western and Hunter. I think it's super important, and for professionals to show them. If the professionals cannot get these young horses in the ring, it's hard to put an amateur on them. So that was the intention of the junior hunter class, for trainers to show them, so that we can sell them. I mean, I've had people want a price on my hunter. That wasn't going to happen with it sitting at home. So we as an industry have to reach out to our managers and say we need these classes, and I know the association will do all it can to promote it.
Anybody else? All right, I'm going to put two people on the spot. I know Susie and Brett do a really good job getting their customers to breed their show mares. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Why don't you come up here, Susie?
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to come along as an amateur, junior exhibitor and amateur in a major breeding farm in Kentucky called Castle Hills, where they stood stallions, Sultan Santana, Blackberry Winner, Courageous Kalu, to name a few, Santana's Charm. And so I was exposed to it at an early age and it was a little more prevalent in the 80s, where you had a show horse and a broodmare. And so being in that environment made you want to have a broodmare, want to breed, got excited about the babies every year. So in doing so, as our business evolved, we were breeding all along ourselves, and our clients would see these babies and see them turn out, maybe not turn out. We started showing babies in hand, and they started to like it. And we had other clients. We had a customer base that was quite traditional in that they've been doing this a long time, had been at traditional farms like Crabtree Farms, where there was a gaited horse and a broodmare. If you showed equitation, you had a broodmare too. It was kind of part of the drill. And so our clients over time, we just made breeding a really important part of our business model, and they wanted to be a part of it. So I would say 90% of our clientele shows horses and breeds, only because they were exposed to it. So it's super important to create more exposure in barns and find more access points for people to feel comfortable wanting to breed and learning, just like this. This is a great opportunity for people to learn the ins and outs. And if we did this more, I think it would be very helpful for people to want to breed and not be intimidated by it, and be around people who are willing to give their expertise. Great breeders right here that are giving you some great ideas, and finding that lane for somebody to ask a question and not feel intimidated to ask that question, because it's really a lot of fun, and it can be the most rewarding experience you'll ever have, raising your own horse and seeing it go to the show ring successfully.
I'd like to add that when we were purchasing Brookfield's Glam Slam for Elizabeth Marie as a show horse.
Who is Glam Slam?
Glam Slam is the dam of glamorous ducks. And the last thing Elizabeth had in her mind was she was buying a broodmare. And Susie made it very clear to her that she was paying more money than she could have imagined for the show horse. But the end game was she was buying one of probably the most incredible broodmares, because her sire was great, but her dam was It's a Beautiful Day, who Melissa's mother put on the map, made famous, and turned the bloodline on down through there. And so when it came time to breed that mare, she listened to what Susie told her to do and claimed her sons.
Most
But from the
people
very-
start breeding. Most of I don't know. Very rarely will you get someone that just walks in and goes, "Hi, I want to buy a broodmare and start breeding." They fall in love with a very special mare that Elizabeth wanted to breed because she wanted to keep her bloodline. She felt like it was a disservice to the breed to not continue that. For my family, it was I'm an Angel, the gray broodmare, or the gray mare my sister showed. We bought her as a walk and trot horse for my sister, and she was gray, and she just became the most special horse to my family, and my parents wanted to breed her, and then that's how. Never in a million years when we bought that mare did I think that my most valuable horse on my farm would be a granddaughter, and then my breeding career in, breeding and it all, it's unbelievable what one special mare can snowball into for me, a huge breeding program. I mean,
Okay.
I ended up with buying a stallion because we had started with that mare, and then she had a daughter we kept, and we didn't want to pay all these outside stud fees, so we wanted a stallion to breed to and then we enjoyed it. So we picked up a mare here and a mare and before we had 4 or 5, and that's why I bought Masterclass and that horse created my whole I had nothing when I got that horse, nothing. And I had never foaled a mare. And I started doing it, and those people would send mares to breed. It created a whole entire business that now I'm, on to my second, third studs and second generation breeding. But it all started with a very special mare that we wanted to same with them.
I think we, in the past have had huge breeding farms that would produce the numbers. We don't have that anymore. But we are growing because people are getting involved in breeding, and like I said, all of our customers have at least one mare, and that contributes a lot. And I think that if trainers would encourage that of their clients, we could definitely grow our numbers. Just every little bit helps.
And just to take a different track, and something I thought about before we came up here today, and I forgot to get it out of my mouth from the back of my head somewhere, but leasing mares is a great option for an owner that maybe doesn't want the obligation of, I'm buying this mare, now I own her, I'm going to own her forever, perhaps, or whatever. But if to lease a mare, there's an interim. You're going to lease the mare for 1 year. You're going to get a baby, you hope, if all things goes well, and you have one baby, and then you still own just one horse, which is the baby, because the mare's gone back to original owner. And I think that's a great way for trainers to promote this to their clients, to give them a chance to start breeding, to get their feet wet. It's a great way for an amateur owner who's not sure they want to do this to get involved. One of the colts we won with here this week, I found out about a mare that folks weren't going to breed her, so we leased her, and she had a world champion. She was a nice mare, and she was available, so we leased her. And a lot of farms, you might call Kristen, you might call Melissa. She's got a mare. Maybe I'm not going to breed all of them this year. Find someone of your friends, your neighbors, somebody's retired show horse that they don't want to breed her, and she's taking the year off. Well, go ahead and raise a colt out of her. It helps the business, it helps the whole breed, and it might help you out. And you'll have a lot of fun along the way. So leasing is a great option that again, keeps your costs down.
And farms that have their own stallions like myself, I have mares that I've raised that I'm very attached to, and they just haven't crossed with my stud. That doesn't mean that they're not good brood mares. They're just not crossing, or didn't cross well enough that I'm like dying to do it again. But I also am not going to just get rid of the mare. Right. So, there's a huge opportunity with people like us that, acquire a lot of horses quickly. So.
Buy embryos too,
Yeah.
in utero, which again is kind of the same idea. You're getting the embryo. You don't have to have the mare. So that's a whole nother avenue to go down. I mean, there's some people that are doing it, and some embryos go for a ridiculous amount of money. But that is another option. If you don't want to buy a mare, you just want to buy a dream.
Any more questions? Do you all have anything else in closing?
Thank you, guys.
Avery?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know one thing. I think it would be beneficial if we could get like potential leasing contracts, like examples available, because I think I commonly hear people run into the problem of like, oh, well, there's so much that could go wrong. There's so many different scenarios where the mare dies, or whose responsibility is it if the foal dies. And obviously, when you're breeding horses, you know this is very possible and happens every single year. So for somebody that's really new to the business, when they hear something daunting like that, I think it can be overwhelming. So if there was something written out in a contract, I think contracts usually help avoid a lot of this. And people sometimes think contracts are scarier because somebody's trying to take advantage, but I think it would help sort out some of the questions for people that don't understand it completely and are hoping to get into it.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, we have the Saddlebred website has a sample sales contract.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something that we could develop as
Yeah.
a sample.
That's a great
You know, get people together on it. What are the right things to include, and have a sample lease agreement that people could just download and.
I just signed one.
You
I
should start.
should see it, Jill. I
And the association is working on compiling a list of brood mares that, you know, very of us have that are available for lease, and hopefully we'll get it to where you can go on there and just browse through what trainers and breeders have, and if something pops out, call them. You know, the other thing, and I never did this until the past couple of years, is insurance. It's on a embryo. I mean, you have a significant investment, and you can insure it, and you can insure an in utero foal should something happen, and that can make a very bad situation a little easier to swallow.
I completely agree with what Avery said. I mean, I think that contracts are extremely important. We have a training contract. I have stallion service contracts. I think having a contract with the mares, it is important to protect and just to lay out everything, you know, so that you are protected both sides. And so I think that's extremely important.
And in Kentucky, you're required to have a sales contract.
Yeah.
Honestly,
We have sales
I'm
contract, yeah.
not sure I've ever done one except on the back of a napkin. So.
Right.
Well, that's one.
Yeah.
And I do have just one other thing, and I think that you guys already mentioned this and it's in the works or on some degree, but like I do think there are a ton of brood mares out there, especially at these big breeding farms, that just don't get utilized, or there are breeders, managers that can't afford to be buying stud fees, so they have mares that go unutilized. And I think if there was like a platform where we could see, especially like assistant trainers and people that are involved but not necessarily have mares at their availability, if there was like a way that we could see what mares are available for lease, I think that there are people that do want to get involved and could utilize those. And so if there was just like a website or a platform or something we could go to, maybe that would be helpful for everyone too.
Anybody else? All right. Well, thank you to the panel, and thank you to everybody that showed up today. We did record this, so if any of your friends are not here, we'll send out the link shortly. And
Thank you all.
again, thank you.